Other slides, I had a video demonstrating the robotics running, but I've run out of time as well. Thank you.
Yep. So sorry, Carl. Please, not a better round of applause for Carl. And if you like to get on board, as he mentioned, there's a masterclass which he will be facilitating. You'll be able to ask him your questions and, of course, learn a bit more about AI. All right, so we want to move on quickly now to our next segment, which is another demo presentation. This time we're going to be hearing from a fintech entrepreneur. The company is called Smart Teller, and presenting will be Ogunwande Oluwole. I want to believe he's nearby. Our judges are ready. All right, please put your hands together for him as he steps forward. I imagine you've been briefed on the rules, you know what to do, and I think your time starts shortly.
Hi everyone, my name is Oluwole, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Smart Teller. Smart Teller is a digital banking and payment platform for financial cooperatives. We are helping people, we are providing standard banking services to people through financial cooperatives around them. Micro-entrepreneurs and small business owners do not have access to quality banking services. This is because they bank with cooperatives. This is because they bank with cooperatives that do not have quality banking operations to provide banking services to their customers. According to a FINA survey, State of the Market 2018, 60% of Nigeria population don't have bank accounts. Just 39.7% have a bank account. Also, over 36.6 million people in Nigeria are financially excluded. However, we have over millions of cooperatives in Nigeria. Over 100,000 registered cooperatives according to the Ministry of Cooperatives in Nigeria. That's why we have built Smart Teller, a mobile application and a web-based platform to provide banking services to people through financial cooperatives around them. Our business model. We onboard every single chief collectors, cooperatives into our freemium mode, and we introduce to them our various tiers of subscriptions. Smart Teller, an electronic banking platform for financial cooperatives to provide standard banking services to the people in their community. We also bring to them quality banking services of commercial banking services to these people through financial cooperatives around them. We onboard every single cooperatives in the rural communities into our freemium mode, then we introduce to them our various tiers of subscriptions. Currently, we've onboarded over 250 cooperatives on our platform. We've had over 50,000 transactions on Smart Teller and over 73 billion sum of transactions on our platform, and having over ₦1 million in revenue. With 10,000 cooperatives in Nigeria, that's 10% of the market size, and an average subscription of 10,000 naira, we will make ₦100 million monthly and ₦1.2 billion annually. This is in Nigeria and can be calculated for other African countries. We directly compete to eradicate the inefficient paper base of cooperatives, although we are not the only one in the market. We have Nsibuko in Uganda, we have Ribe in Nigeria. In 8 months of our operations, we were part of Google Launchpad, we were part of Startup Nigeria, we won Tech Challenge Ogun State by the Ogun State government. Just recently, we were selected as a top 9 startup driving financial inclusion in Africa. And also, interestingly, we're part of the top startups selected by FINA to drive financial inclusion across Nigeria. We consist of young and vibrant entrepreneurs who are ready to build the next big thing. I am the CEO. I have my background in software engineering. I have the CTO also. I have the Chief Business Officer and the CEO, which is Raphael Okoje. We are looking forward to raise 30 million naira to move these cooperatives from 200 cooperatives that we've onboarded to 1,000 cooperatives and also our revenue from 1 million naira to 10 million naira monthly revenue, having a profit margin of 65 to 70% profit margin, we'll be able to use this funding as such. 55% on our marketing, because we are now having support from EFINA. We have 60% on our operations and 35% to upgrade our technology. I would like everyone here to note that financial inclusion serves as a tool for sustainable economic development in our rural communities, and Smart Teller is a tool. Thank you.
Wait, you've got your judges here. Okay, please, can we have microphones for the judges, please? Okay. Yeah, hold on. The timer is not working. Okay, judges, over to you.
Can we go back to the slide where you talk about your traction and where it has metrics on usage?
Can we have the slides back up, please? Can we have the presentation back up? He wants to refer to something in the presentation. Okay.
Traction.
No,
So if-
you can control it from...
Or if there's trouble with that, if you can just once again go over how many total users do you have and how many active users do you have?
So we have over 250 cooperatives registered on our platform. Then we have 15% of these cooperatives constant on our platform.
And how do you define constant on the platform?
So constant means those that are regularly operating on our platform. Although we have 250 registered cooperatives on this platform, providing banking services to the customers through us.
So that means 250 independent cooperatives registered themselves on your platform, and of that, about 20,000 individuals are actively have a wallet or are.
Of course.
And what is the average, essentially wallet, or how much funds are held per
So
user?
an average amount on each wallet, right? So we have an average of 10,000 naira on each account.
And how active? So how many times a month do each of these users
So
make a transaction?
Currently we have over 2,000 transactions every day.
From that 20,000 user base?
Yes.
So you mentioned you showed us your competitive landscape. You mentioned that you have a competitor in Uganda and one in Nigeria.
Yes.
So focused on the one in Nigeria. I know it's a relatively big market. So given that you have 250 cooperatives and you said the market is 100,000, maybe do you think competition is actually an issue right now? You know, so what is unique about your product versus your primary competitor? And is it something for you to worry about at this stage?
No. So although we have competitors to prove that there's a market, and our platform, we provide banking service, we digitize the operations of these cooperatives and bring banking services to these people through cooperatives. That means our competitors only digitize the cooperatives. So we are driving financial inclusion right now, to not just to digitize their existing traditional process, but also to bring the standard banking services to them through that medium.
So as a follow-on question, just based on the size, the number of cooperatives there are out there,
Okay.
you now have 250. What is your plan to grow in a faster way? Because again, my understanding of cooperatives is that some of them are actually in rural areas and so on.
Exactly.
What sort of operation do you need to build in order to be able to actually onboard these cooperatives?
Okay, so what we do is that we set up agent networks to go to the markets to onboard these people. So we found out that they are in rural areas, so we set up agent network in the communities to onboard cooperatives on our platform. So we pay the agents to do that, to bring about, to onboard these cooperatives for us.
be your primary regulator? How do you interact with, say, for example, the CBN or other financial regulators? Did you hear my?
No, I didn't.
Who would be your primary regulator? How do you interact with financial regulators? Are you in competition with the banks? How does that affect your business? Does that make sense?
Yes. So at the moment, we are not regulated. I mean, the market is not regulated. Although we are not in competition with the banks. Instead, we are helping the bank access the market. We are providing, we are onboarding the people the bank cannot reach. That means providing access to financial services through the existing network, thereby increasing the banked in Nigeria.
Okay, I really want to understand this from like the customers and endpoints.
Okay.
So what would be like the value you would be selling to me to make me bring my group of individuals, like I have a cooperative basically, and I want to actually come on board your platform. So what would be the value you would actually sell to me?
So the value, before now, you use the inefficient paper-based process to manage your cooperatives. Now with Smart Teller, all your operations is now digitized. No more paper-based process. And now when you perform transactions with the customer now receive SMS notification and alerts for that transactions. So we are bringing banking experience to these people, already existing people that don't have any access to banking experience. So they now receive alerts. They will now have a USSD code that allows you to check your balance with your cooperatives from anywhere. We also have a mobile application for the literate members of these cooperatives to begin to access the cooperative or bank with their cooperatives from anywhere.
So I have just one question. Can you please take us through the customer journey for two sets of customers that you have, one for the cooperative and one for the individual that is part of the cooperative?
Okay. So you are cooperatives, you don't have, you are using an inefficient paper-based process to perform your cooperative operations, right? So we bring Smart Teller to you, you register on Smart Teller, you then put in all your members into Smart Teller. Now you can now perform transactions, the debit transaction, credit transaction, the data audit, the reporting. We will now digitize every aspect of your cooperatives. So you no longer use the inefficient paper-based process to bank. With Smart Teller now, you can begin to onboard more people, thereby driving a financial inclusion. I mean, getting more people in the market that needs to be on the platform. Now, for the customers of these cooperatives now, you can now access your cooperatives, not just before now, you only see your cooperatives when they come to you. But with Smart Teller now, we can now access your cooperatives from our mobile application or from our USSD code. So with Smart Teller now, you can check your balance with the USSD code, you can do transfer, you can even receive funds into your cooperative account from the banked people, which is you and I here. You can now make payments into this, the market woman with cooperative account into our cooperative phone number. We are doing this with FCMB, so that every single account on our platform that you create also creates an account with FCMB. So then they can now receive money with their bank accounts, they can get the ATM cards, they can become banked, moving from the unbanked to become banked, from being financially excluded to being financially included.
Okay, you mentioned your agent-based network, right?
Yes.
So also in relation to that, can you run down your operating costs? Because I assume that these agents would be paid, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you also run down other aspects of your operations?
Okay, that's simple. What we do is that we onboard agents in the communities that can help us get these cooperatives. Now, how we pay the agents? We pay them when the cooperatives subscribe on our platform. We pay the agent 10% of this cooperative subscription for the next 6 weeks, for the next 6 months. So we pay them as a monthly remuneration for the cooperatives. So if I'm an agent and I onboard a cooperative, and the cooperative pays me 20,000 naira, I can onboard 10 cooperatives that's 200,000 naira. So we give the agent 10% of that, of the number of cooperatives he onboards or she onboards over the next 6 months. So we begin to do that to penetrate every community in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Wale. He's made his speech, and we'll get the results later on. So very quickly, again, we have an opportunity for us to enjoy the largesse of free airtime. So look out for it. It's going to be on the screen. And as we said earlier, the fastest finger wins. All right, so we'll be moving on to a panel conversation now. And if you know anything about Access Bank, you know that they are very supportive of women. Am I right or am I right? All right, so I'm not surprised that we have a panel on women in technology. And to moderate that, I'd like to now invite to the stage Audrey Motupi. She's the Chief Executive Officer of System Logic from South Africa. Audrey, please put your hands together for her as she comes. And I'll just move on to invite the other panelists. Adia Soho, Managing Director and Vice President of Commercial at Minds Nigeria. Please, can we continue to clap for our women? I think we can do better than that. Thank you. We also have Barbara Iyayi, Managing Director for Africa, Element Inc. All right, please, can we put our hands together? We're talking about the ladies here, guys. Thank you. And we should also have Funke Okweke. Is she here? I know she was here earlier. Okay, there she is. Please put your hands together for her. Funke Okweke is the CEO of Main One. All right, Audrey, over to you.
Thank you. How's everyone?
Great.
My goodness, the men are quiet. How's everyone?
Great.
Good. Welcome, everyone. First of all, for all of you who are Nigerians, for some of us, be proud. This is probably one of the few African countries where women lead banks and women possibly at the highest percentage, Roosevelt, in banks. So it's appropriate to have the conversation here about the future and women. To start off, I want to just let us think, reflect before the team kicks in. Only 6% of information, communication, and technology regulators and ministers of the top 100 tech companies or countries overall are female. Just 7% of venture capital funded startups are led by women, 7%. Only 9% of apps are created by women. And only 10 to 15% of high-level managers in the technology sector are women. But we're not here to talk about why women are missing. We're here to tell you we're on our way. We're going to disrupt. Funke, I'll start with you. How, where, and when?
Well, it's inevitable that women play a larger role in the tech sector. And certainly you haven't seen it on the stage before now today, but I think the three of us are women CEOs in the tech sector participating in Nigeria. There is a growing network of women, a lot of whom I've seen here today. I founded a company. They're working also at the bleeding edge of other new startups in this economy. But when you really look at the application of tech and the relevance to women, it's inevitable that we play a larger role because as tech becomes more mainstream in everything we do, and I think this conference is about that, banking is as basic a service as you can find, and it doesn't discriminate by gender. So as we talk about more digital banking, digital health, digital services, if you leave women out, you create a lot of friction. And women understand the requirements of women and are able to model that into the workplace. So as a necessity, women have to play a larger role to reduce the amount of friction in terms of tech adoption. I think also you're seeing more young women pursue STEM, and that pipeline, so to speak, inevitably leads to future opportunities for them to pursue a career in tech. But I'm very hopeful about the role of women, the growing role of women, the emergence of women in the tech scene in Nigeria and Africa, and clearly something that we need to see a lot more of but maybe perhaps that's why we're disrupting the banking sector, right? Fintechs will disrupt the banking sector if they don't have more women in leadership and tech positions.
Great, thanks. Barbara, we've heard a lot about AI. It's coming, it's here. But actually, AI will not be complete, neither will it be perfect without women involvement. And that's your space at the moment.
Absolutely. The whole point of AI is to personalize, is to get to a point where we can use all this data to make sense out of the world. And if we're not including women in the conversation, we've missed out half of the data points that we need to make those decisions. But I think to your point around this conversation about women, it's not about CSR, it's not a marketing gimmick. This is about business. This is about making money. This is an imperative. If you're not talking about women in building tech products, in building digital AI-based products, then I'm not sure what you're doing. We are in a world where there is clearly a financial inclusion gap amongst women. There's clearly a mobile gender gap when it comes to using the internet on the mobile device, when it comes to purchasing the mobile device. These are opportunities. And so the tech companies that are focused on solving that problem are the ones that are going to be unicorns. The AI can help with that from different perspectives that we can talk about today, from a digital identity perspective, from a credit scoring perspective. At the end of the day, you're getting data to be able to make insights into how women make purchases, how women make payments, how women borrow money. All of these things are opportunities that you can capitalize on if you're smart and you want to win in this game.
Ajia, I'm going to out you. We're standing out there and you said, you know, I really dislike sitting on panels that talk about women and for women because actually we need to talk business. Women equal business. So tell them how women equal business.
Okay, so please observe all context. I am a woman, so I can't possibly hate women. But what I find sometimes is that engagements that seek to talk about women don't really get into the meat of the issue. And what I tend to see a lot as I try to work with people in the ecosystem is that you just create a product and just slap women on it and think that, you know, you've addressed what women need. I'll give you an example of what we do at Minds with our lending product. So to what Barbara mentioned, right, we have data, and that data is what we assess in order to make the credit decision. The data doesn't care how old you are, what tribe you are, and whether you're a man or a woman. If you behave in a credit-worthy manner, you're going to get a loan. Now, this doesn't surmount the access issues, the literacy issues, and the numeracy issues, but at least for the women that have a digital footprint, we're able to lend. But I think we also need to go a little bit deeper and explore the ways that we make it challenging for women and other minorities to use technology. For instance, at Minds, your credit is determined in part by your phone usage. When we grant you a loan, the loan goes into your account and only your account. Now, in the early days, we got feedback to enable the credit score from one person's phone to send a loan to another person's account. Now, I had joined the business at the time, and I put a stop to this, and I'll tell you why. Because in my mind, that makes women vulnerable. Because what's going to happen is that in a situation where you're in a relationship where the man decides to use his woman's improved or better credit score to get a loan, what now ends up happening is if that loan diverts into his account, it doesn't affect his ability to lend, but it creates leverage that she is not able to address and damages her credit history. So we did not roll out a product like that, but I believe that I was the only one in the room at the time, because I was the only woman in the business that was able to see that. This is the value of having women sitting in the technology companies that are part of designing these products.
Brilliant.
So it's important to have these minorities represented. So what we continue to watch for is making sure that we don't create what we think is a positive product feature for one class of individuals and ends up disenfranchising a completely different set of individuals. But it's this level of thinking that I would like to see more of within the ecosystem. Don't just put women on a product and say it's for women. Just actually think through the design of the product.
And that's a good point, because in your line, for example, globally, it's a fact that women, if you lend them money, they pay better than men. So by default, that credit scoring is better. Now that's in the financial sector. Funke, I was fascinated if we take back to creating products that are relevant. In the infrastructure space, we've had all about banking and financial services, but infrastructure is key as a critical enabler for every other sector. I'd like you to share some of that and the shifts in that environment.
Well, I think the key gap that you have with regards to women is in the issue of access. And it comes, I would say, largely as a result of income disparities and access to opportunities. So clearly, we do have an infrastructure deficit. It's getting better, and we are disrupting. And in our cities, we're able to do more of that. But to the extent that women are probably very much present in our rural areas where they have less access to quality education, quality healthcare, economic opportunities, they're also disadvantaged when they don't have access to infrastructure and services. So the key imperative, and you don't build infrastructure, say, it's solely for women, because you're putting it into communities and societies, but ensuring we have pervasive infrastructure, that we have internet and technology in our schools, in our hospitals, in government agencies also means that the female populations would be better served, and quality of lives would be enhanced because they now have access to the services. So I think there's a continuing gap that we need to focus on, that just by addressing those gaps for society as a whole, for African societies, our women, I think, in particular, gain a particular benefit. So when we think of infrastructure rollout, we're not thinking, okay, how do you isolate the female population? It's really difficult to say you're going into a city to provide internet access just for women. But as you go into secondary cities, as you go into more rural areas, as you make services more affordable, then definitely you're touching more women, you're touching the youth population, so young girls can have access to science education, and thereby you're able to create better outcomes.
Well, no, thank you, because now we've gone from providing funding and scoring to creating that access, which is important. Now, Barbara, you used to be an investment banker yourself. You're now building a fintech around AI. Access to funding is another big thing. Only 7% of VC capital companies fund women. Where is the solution into the future?
First of all, I'm still in finance, always been finance. But fundamentally, the venture capital world, I think we all know that there is a gender issue with respect to primarily any investment sort of field. There is a gender issue in the leadership of these funds. But I think that's changing. I think there's a lot more women. Look at the judges. We have lots of wonderful VC female investors. I think that's changing. I think more women are going into finance. private equity, venture capital, and they're investing in these tech-enabled companies. And they are also driving this conversation about bringing in more female founders to set up these companies and to grow. And they can be more compassionate around what they're doing and understand what they're doing. Because some of the things that they're doing, like Adia was saying, is they're recognizing these blind spots that sometimes men don't recognize, but they're opportunities. And so they're capitalizing on that. So I think the world of venture capital will help everyone in this room with more women in there, because we're now going to see more of a diverse ecosystem. We're going to see more robust companies, and it's going to drive our ecosystem to the point where more people are going to want to invest in this country, and that's the whole point.
Great. I'm told there are questions coming through. While we wait for the questions, the last question I wanted to ask all of you, and I'll start with Idea. It's the same question, which is, if we're in a Disrupt conference, AFF Disrupt, what's your one message in less than 5 seconds to every single young girl, young boy, so that we can break this female panel thing around the future and what they can do to disrupt?
Okay, that's a really big question. Well, I'll share a personal experience. So, leading the Minds organization in Nigeria, I recently had to hire a lot of people. And I remember catching myself, because I had a pipeline of hires. I think I had maybe 6 or 8 people, and the person that was top of mind for each of those roles was a woman. And I stopped myself and I started going into this panic. I'm like, I've got to find guys. But then I stopped myself again and I said, well, if this pipeline had only men, I don't know, most people wouldn't actually give that a second thought. So I decided to just, run with it. So now my office is almost 3-to-1 women to men. And it's a completely different vibe. I'm still trying to understand it, because coming from, being an engineer, starting off my career in engineering, I'm used to a 99-to-1 split men to women. So this is even a new experience for me. So what I would say to people is, there are women out there that can actually deliver. Please hire them. Don't be shy. If they show up and they take up roles, please receive them. I think you'll be better off for it.
Okay. So there are women. Go find them. Barbara, what's your disruptive message to a young girl and boy out there?
Honestly, it's less about tech. It's less about anything except psychology. It's all in the mind. Honestly, it's about being confident in yourself. And, I say this all the time, just because you don't look like someone doesn't mean you don't need to be on the table with them, making decisions, driving things. So I would say we are in a world right now where, honestly, things are changing so quickly. If we don't jump on the train, we're going to lose opportunities. So it's really more about everyone should just join the train and get it done. That's it.
Thank you.
I'll quote Sheryl Sandberg, and I'll say to women, especially young women just coming along in their careers, lean in. You've got to be in to win. Step forward, you'd be amazed what you can do. I think the challenge to women professionals, women in tech, is stepping forward and taking hold of the opportunities. And you'll amaze yourselves what you can do if you do indeed take that first step, as I did many years ago, founding Main One and building the company to the place where it is today.
I like that. And I'm going to challenge and disrupt you and say, I actually like the stepping forward than leaning in. So I'm going to take that forward. Hashtag step forward, women.
Could I just add one more thing to that? I think often I hear us talk about technology like it's this great big separate thing. I'd like us to maybe do that a little bit less, right? Nobody looks at mobile phones like they are technology. They're not intimidating. Everybody uses them. But technology has the ability to touch every single vertical. It drives efficiency. It gives transparency, and so on and so forth. So I think rather than treat technology as a separate thing that you need all kinds of competencies to get involved in, let's embrace it and recognize its use within every industry that functions.
And while you're at it, there's a question for Idea. So while you're at it, hello, Idea. Nice lending product you've got. So if a woman gets a loan and transfers the money to a man, if this happens 3 or 4 times, does this affect your lending decision? How about if she does this because she's being pushed? How would you save her?
Thanks for the question, Mwabosa. See, at the point where the funds are with them and then they make the choice to try, whether it's choice that is led or forced or not, there's a limit to what we can do. We're not Superman. So I don't know that we can step all the way into people's personal business at that point. What we can do with our product at least is ensure that the person with the credit history is the one getting the loan. If from that point they then choose to log into their bank account, access their funds, put in their password, and transfer to someone else, I don't think it makes sense for Minds to be that involved.
Next question. But I think there's an opportunity today. You can network with Carl and AI to figure out how you can track the information to know who the money is going to.
We have fraud tracking methodology,
Yeah.
but that doesn't, if you transfer money to a man because you buy sugar from him, how do I tell the difference between that and something else? You know what I mean?
Great. Barbara, sorry, you had...
No, it was a separate point about what you said about technology shouldn't be looked at this way. You know, one thing women hear a lot is what they shouldn't be doing or what they can do. You know, someone the other day was like, you're not tech. You're not tech. It's like, what is tech? So to your point, it's like anybody who's building a business should be incorporating tech into that business. Whether you're an engineer, even though I studied engineering in undergrad, but that's separate, or you're not. Right now, if you're not building tech into your business, then you're not capitalizing in the future. So it shouldn't be a separate conversation. I agree with that.
Thank you. Funke?
No, I think I'm good. It's great to see, I don't know what the ratio of women to men are in the room, but there is a good representation of women. And so when you think this room is full of tech enthusiasts, be they, again, lawyers and picking up on what Barbara said, or marketing specialists, or financial specialists. Tech is simply playing a larger role in our lives, and you can truly disrupt with technology, being a woman, applying technology in any of those spaces, like Greek tech, health tech. And, there are a lot of women doing great things in our society. So it's great to see the representation here.
Great. Thank you. I don't see any other question, but what I heard this afternoon is actually technology is for all of us. We need to step forward. We are actually the future in terms of being the market, but also enabling the change that's coming through. And more important, you're saying to every little boy and girl out there, just there's opportunities, grab it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Please put your hands together again for them. Thank you so much. And up next, we have another demo presentation, and another would follow closely. And after that, of course, we have our master classes, and it will be happening. You're going to have to go through this door. It's on the first and second floor. The doors are properly labeled. Get into the class you've registered for and what interests you as well. As it's supposed to be a live presentation after the second demo presentation. That is going to be happening in here. So Carl Vogue is going to be doing that here. He's going to be giving us the live presentation and also answering questions from the last session. So his masterclass will take place here. So if you're interested in artificial intelligence, stay here. For other topics, go through that door. It's the first and second floor. With that said, let's welcome Kayoshi. It's a fintech company for their demo presentation. Please put your hands together. And Princess OT will be doing that. Oh, it's a girl. Please put your hands together for Princess OT. Is she? Just to mention again the judging criteria. We're looking out for originality, customer validation, business model, product quality, and readiness. And she does look ready for that presentation. You're welcome. Please put your hands together.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Right, so my name is Oti Princess. I'm a co-founder at Kayoshi. I'm here to present to you the application. Sorry, The African retail remittance market is broken, and the African banks can't service this market because the forex is scarce and limited. They're not able to service the market. Because of this fact, people have started to resort to alternative means to actually service their remittance needs, which includes largely going towards the informal retail remittance market. Okay, yeah, so this slide shows figures from a Nigerian bank showing outflow from Western Union Western Union out of Nigeria, and then there's a point where the 3-year gap between 2015 and 2018, there was a $120 million drop between what went out of Nigeria through Western Union. Where has all this remittance gone to? People have begun to boycott the banks and service their remittance needs through alternative informal channels. This is just a slide showing Facebook and WhatsApp closed groups, showing people posting and saying they need money to be swapped for this amount of money, and then even Lexi Novisky, popular private equity investor, even posting on Silicon Africa, saying that she actually needs amount of money to swap conveniently. The informal market, according to the IMF, is even 1.5 times bigger than the formal market, but it is risky, fragmented, disorganized, and it cannot be scaled or largely unscalable. So basically, Joy wants to send money to her son, Kwame wants to send money to his mom. I present to you, gentlemen and ladies, Kayoshi the solution. Audio. Can I have the audio, please? Sorry about that. I think it's a technical problem. That's fine, that's all right. I can wait. Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and I'll be right back when it's sorted out. Thank you.
So apologies for that. Technical issues. We need artificial intelligence to fix that for us. Okay, so while we're trying to sort that out, I just want to reiterate again the master classes. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it's important that you have pre-registered for them. And once you go to this side of the hall, there's a staircase. On the first and second floors, the various venues have been indicated for the various classes. So please do your best to look for the venues and go to the class that concerns you. And the live presentation with Carl will continue right here. So please take note of that. Do we have any other freebies in terms of airtime? This would be a good time for everyone to focus and grab them. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity. I'm always up here when the largesse is being shared. All right, fastest finger, go for it. And if you get it, we'd love to know it's you, so let us know. Onyi, aren't you going for it? Oh no. Do we have a winner? Let us know. No one yet? Please put your hands up if it's you. It's gone, right? No winner? Ah, there's another one. So if you missed the first, another opportunity, go for it. Okay, I think I'm going to grab my phone now. Gotcha. Nothing. Is it gone already? Let's try again. All right, I guess that one is gone. So are we ready now for the presentation? Can we have her back? Another 5 minutes.
Next level. Wow. Our future is in plain sight, but it takes those with foresight to see it. Zynox is a world-class Nigerian integrated ICT solutions company that has delivered the largest ICT project on the African continent and has certified capacity to do more. Because we believe no country can claim to be independent without a level of technological independence. That's why Zynox is at the forefront of bringing advanced technologies such as virtual reality, big data, robotics, artificial intelligence, and making them accessible to every Nigerian. Today, we continue to propel Nigeria into the digital future, multiple solutions at a time. Zynox Technologies, anticipate the future. Our founders had a vision for a better Nigeria, but only a technological disruption will take the nation to the next level. Our future is in plain sight, but it takes those with foresight to see it. Zynox is a world-class Nigerian integrated ICT solutions company that has delivered the largest ICT project on the African continent and has certified capacity to do more. Because we believe no country can claim to be independent without a level of technological independence. That's why Zynox is at the forefront of bringing advanced technologies such as virtual reality, big data, robotics, artificial intelligence, and making them accessible to every Nigerian. Today, we continue to propel Nigeria into the digital future, multiple solutions at a time. Zynox Technologies, anticipate the future. Our founders had a vision for a better Nigeria, but only a technological disruption will take the nation to the next level. Our future is in plain sight, but it takes those with foresight to see it. Zynox is a world-class Nigerian integrated ICT solutions company that has delivered the largest ICT project on the African continent and has certified capacity to do more. Because we believe no country can claim to be independent without a level of technological independence. That's why Zynox is at the forefront of bringing advanced technologies such as...
All right, Princess is going to make this presentation, so we're going to figure it out. But while we wait for the technical guys to get it done...
A bit of audience engagement. We just want two people, hopefully a guy and a girl, to come up here. Sorry, I'm going to use that term again. male, female, to come up and just share their experience in 2 minutes. Just tell us what your biggest takeaway has been since the start of this event. It could be something a speaker said, it could be a panel session you listened to. Come share on stage. Please take center stage. The microphone.
All right, we
is
have
yours.
someone there.
Please step forward. Please put your hands together. I can't see this. Oh. You're now beefing. Clap now. You didn't want to
All
come
right.
out.
So who knows, maybe there is a freebie as well attached to this. So what have you learned, or what has been your biggest takeaway?
Thank you very much. My name is Uche Naokezi. I run atyourservice.ng. We're a digital freelance platform. So my biggest takeaway so far was from Yostaneke's talk. When he spoke about the importance of running a lean startup. Why it's important for the CEO or the founder to manage his costs and not become extravagant too soon and run down the company. So that has been very important for me so far.
Oh, useful advice, no doubt. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Please introduce yourself and tell us.
Thank you. My name is Baki Salaudin, and I'm the founder of Base Planet Foundation.
Sorry,
Basically-
that was a little too quick for us. Your name is?
Okay, my name is Baki Salaudin. I'm the founder of Base Planet Foundation.
All right.
Basically, I don't really know much about technology. Basically, I like digital marketing, but then I don't really see myself venturing into this kind of technology. But then with the panelists and the speakers, I've been able to be enlightened about what technology is, how banks can really move with time. And I could relate it with, sorry, this is not a commercial, but then I could relate it with Wema Bank Alert. Yeah, I have that bank, I have that account, but then I open the account conveniently at my comfort without having going to the bank, and I can go to the bank and withdraw without anybody asking me for my bill or signature and all of that. So basically, I think I've been able to have a broad knowledge about technology.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I think, Princess, are we ready now? We are. Princess, are they ready for you? Oh, 1 more minute. Okay, so I think we can get maybe 1 or 2 more comments. So anybody else? Okay, please put your hands together for him. Please put your hands together. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Let me first apologize for the stage fright. It has been...
It's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
We're in it together.
All right. I'm Dominic, co-founder of 12 Miles. And I think I've actually learned that the time for disruption is now. But here in Nigeria, I think it's going to be quite a little hard if you are disrupting in the financial sector. Uber, the largest transport network, has no single taxi. Amazon, the largest retail, has no single store. But 12 Miles is trying to actually build the largest bank in Nigeria without a single branch. And I've actually been doing that for a couple of 12, 18 months now, but it's actually very hard. But I think with this kind of disruptive thinking from every one of you and Access Bank, I think we're actually seeing lights at the end of the tunnel. So I think keep it up.
All right, thank you so much. Roosevelt, competition is right here. Okay, I think Princess is ready, so please put your hands together again for Princess. Please, can we put it? All right, so earlier we had a women's panel, right? And I was just thinking to myself that perhaps the only that shouldn't clap for the women is anyone. I know there's artificial intelligence, artificial insemination, but if you are not born of a woman, don't clap. Or if you are, please, can you put your hands together again for Princess? All right.
Thank you very much. So back from the beginning. Beginning, right? Okay, great. All right, hi, my name is Ote Princess, like before. I'm going to present to you Kayoshi. The African retail remittance market is broken. The market is plagued with hassles and expensive fees, and the African banks are not able to service this market because Forex is scarce and is limited. And so people have begun to resort to alternative means of meeting their remittance needs. These are figures from a Nigerian bank showing Western Union outflow between 2015 and 2018, and there's a $120 million drop between what happened in 2015 and 2018 from this particular bank of Western Union. Where has all the remittance gone to? People are still sending money, but they're finding alternative routes. This is a sample of a Facebook and WhatsApp closed group message showing how people are looking for how to send money, even through social media, that is extremely risky and fragmented. According to the IMF, the informal market is 1.5 times the size of the formal market, but this market is risky, fragmented, disorganized, and unscalable. So Kwame wants to send money to his mom, Joy wants to send money to her son. I present to you Keoshi. Solution.
But what if there was a way for Joy and Kwame to know of each other's desire to send money? Joy could decide to pay Kwame's mother in Boku using domestic payment platforms like MTN Mobile Money, while Kwame could pay Joy's son in the United States using domestic platforms like PayPal or Zelle. Voila! No money crosses the border. Using the Kaoshi mobile app, Joy can post a request to send money to her son in the US. Kwame in the US can see this request on the Kaoshi app on his phone and match Joy's offer. They exchange payment details for their recipients. They sign into their local payment platform in their respective countries and make payment on behalf of each other. Now, from the comfort of their homes, Joy and Kwame can send money to their loved ones. No more expensive fees. No more horrible exchange rates. No more long lines and forex hustle. No more wahala.
Thank you very much. So Joy, I'm still continuing, thank you. So Joy logs into her local bank portal, and obviously Access Bank in this case, because they're very innovative, they're very forward-thinking, they integrate Keoshi into their online banking platform. She logs into the platform, and then she posts her transfer request. The requests are posted in multiples of 50s to enable efficient matching, and then the rates can be set by Joy herself within a rate range. And then on the diaspora side, Kwame logs into his Keoshi Diaspora app, which is a standalone app on the foreign side, and then he sees Joy's request, he matches her request, and then the bank, Access Bank in this case, puts a lien on the amount of money to be transferred on Joy's account, and Kwame is then prompted by the Keoshi app to make payment to Joy's son, and then Keoshi, having access to open banking APIs, is able to validate this transaction in near real time and confirm it doubly. So once it's confirmed on Joy's son's side and Kwame's side, the bank is then told by Keoshi to actually release the funds into Kwame's mom's account, and that's how it's done. How do we make money? The banking partners actually make money by charging $1 on the inflow from diaspora side and 2.5% on the outflow from Africa to diaspora, which is 7 times cheaper than what actually obtains now. And then same goes for intra-Africa as well. The banks charge 2.5% sending from Nigeria to Ghana, for example, or Ghana to Nigeria, and the other way around, which is 10 times cheaper than what actually obtains now in the intra-Africa transfer market. So we have our first partnership, Sterling Bank. Mr. Yinka Oni, the CIO, said that he's proud to partner with Keoshi to be the first in Africa to launch his unique peer-to-peer disruptive solution. We had our first demo end of April with our engineers, and they were on the way to integrating the application on the online banking platform. We also have partnered with Union Bank, and we're also looking to work with banks in Ghana, and we have signed NDAs from these banks as well, showing that there's room for more discussion and possible partnership with the banks in Ghana. We intend to scale our service across Africa, and then by 2020, we hope to at least have 2 banks in Nigeria, 2 banks in Ghana, and then we keep on going that way until we reach our goal of 38 banks by 2024. We were actually featured on this Africa Review magazine, which is a key or top industry magazine for tech, as well as we also appear on conferences and webinars like this one to pitch our ideas so that people are actually aware of it and gives us more publicity as well. We also do direct sales to top and key members of banks to actually get our products across the banks. Our marketing plan is that we are the $1 remittance platform. So basically, there is no fintech app now that can beat this price as it stands. We also use marketing media like Facebook and having to go to alumni and having to go to where we have diaspora people gathered in diaspora as well. Okay, we were invited by the Duke of York to St. James Palace to pitch our innovation at the Palace to potential investors. And we were also shortlisted by the Royal Academy of Engineering as an Africa Prize shortlist in engineering innovation. We're also on the new MPC Challenge right now by the Polsky in Chicago University. Our founding team is made up of a very, very strong tech team with candidates in PhD at top universities abroad. We also have myself there. I'm a lawyer, practicing lawyer, 5 years post-call, UK trained, Nigerian qualified, practicing for 5 years now. And we have our advisors, Mr. Olakunle Oloruntimehin, who is the country general manager at Cisco Nigeria, who has been really, really key and instrumental in making us our bank connections to the key people in the banks we've actually connected with so far. And then we have Mr. E.J. Reedy, the director at the Polsky Exchange. Our request is that we want to have more signed bank partners, especially in Ghana, and we need $1.3 million to fund us through the end of 2020. Thank you very much, Keoshi is the fintech for banks.
Hello?
Oh, go ahead.
Bold idea. I would like to know what does your competitor landscape look like, and also what do you project to be the biggest risk this company would face?
Okay, thank you very much. We have competition, which in this case would be MoneyGram, Western Union, and then say World Remit on the diaspora side. But the thing is, these guys, MoneyGram and Western Union, send the same amount of money, but they have ridiculously high fees and exchange rates. So we can't really compare with someone that's sending money, charging 2.5% to send money out of Africa, and someone that's charging over 30%, sending the same amount of money out of Africa. And World Remit sends, actually, using World Remit, it costs 4 to 8 times more to send money to Africa than it costs to send to India and China. So definitely that for us, and we actually charge $1. That for us makes us very competitive because in the end, we incur very little cost in doing the API query we do to actually validate transactions. So that's how we are able to deal with, I guess, our competition, and we see ourselves as scalable.
Risk was his other question, and then to add on to risk as a component of risk, what sort of licenses do you have currently, and what sort of financial licenses here and in the other countries where you're operating do you anticipate needing?
Great question. We actually don't do payments because we just develop software and license to the banks to use. We don't touch money in any shape or form. The banks are the one that processes on the African side. They make payments and send the money to the recipient's account. And on the other side, we only actually validate payments. We don't touch money in any shape or form. We don't do anything that has to do with processing payments, and that's why we don't actually require a license. But on the African side, we work with the banks who are licensed money transmitters, who are able to send money without any issues or regulation whatsoever. So they kind of cover that bit for us because, on the African bit, they actually do payments. But on the diaspora bit, they don't actually do, we just actually watch the money go, and we're able to watch it in real time and check that the money has left an account and gone to the next account, and we're able to see that movement. And that's and then, sorry, I want to answer the question on the risk we're facing now. So like I said, the risk we're actually facing would be regulation, because in the end, we haven't got, there's no box that puts us in, there's no box that actually can categorize what we do in a box. But the thing is, at some point, they're probably going to say, okay, you guys are still helping out with remittance, so you have to kind of fit in a box somewhere. So when we get to that box, we'll cross it, and we know that we have the team who is able to take on that and do that right.
Okay, so I think you just preemptively answered my next question.
Okay, great.
But I would like to comment a little bit further on that, because while you may not be the ones who are actually handling the transfer of funds across borders, you are marketing yourselves. So the customer interaction is with you.
Yep.
So you hold the liability, even if you have, to my mind anyway, even if you have partners on the back end. Now, is that something that you have adequately explored? Because now you're talking about multiple jurisdictions with multiple regulators.
Definitely. So we've gone into all the jurisdictions with lawyers to actually help us with integrating these systems. First of all, in America, which actually came out from, we are under the FinCEN. FinCEN actually regulates our activities, even if we're not really touching any money. But they are aware of activities, and we're going to actually submit ourselves to their regulation. And on the African side, the banks actually take on that risk of I guess, compliance, as well as risk of the risk of compliance, as well as the risk of anything happening in the event of their mistakes. So on the African side, African bank partners actually take most of the burden because they actually share the revenue with the banks half and half. So in the end, we are taking the burden half and half, earning the money half and half.
Okay, so my next questions have to do with your traction, basically.
Okay.
And the process of how this works. So typically, how long does matching take?
Okay, so it should take, when you post a request on the platform, generally, because we haven't actually launched yet, so we can't say the exact amount of hours. But I guess with our demo, our pilot activity, it doesn't take more than 24 hours to even match. For example, on one of our slides, you see that we have a survey when people are being asked, how long are they willing to wait for a match? As long as it's cheap and effective, and people are actually willing to wait over a day to match, as long as it's effective, as long as it's cheap, and as long as they get what they want. So when the match is made, they have a 2-hour window where where the person in diaspora and must send the money, and we verify that. If not, the money on the African side gets held back by the bank or gets sent back to the person that actually owns the money. So there's a 2-hour window in between match and payment, which money must actually be in the other person's account.
And my last question, does it have to be one-to-one?
One-to-one, yeah.
It's a one-to-one match. So if I need to want to send $200 equivalent, and somebody on the other side has to do that. So it's not a pool of people being matched with a pool of people.
No, just a one-to-one match. One match, another match. Makes it easier to regulate, so to speak.
Okay, so this is a typical question you ask for every two-sided marketplace.
Okay.
Right? So I'm sure you've gotten it a lot, but I think in this particular case, it's particularly relevant because the problem you're trying to solve is actually primarily on this side.
Yeah.
Right? So in other words, there's a lot of solutions, right,
Yes.
for the people that are trying to send here.
Yeah.
So you have the World Remits and so on, and they're already, they've already left Western Union and are already using those.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite relevant for you. You are going to have that mismatch at the beginning, right? So it means that you will have a lot of people here who want to send and not enough people there who want to send using your platform. So it now means that, and I think that's why you're trying to do the $1.
That's our marketing position. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But it is actually a big problem that would actually make your ability to make matches very difficult at the beginning because you're going to have all these bank partners here. Immediately, people are going to start hitting the app looking for matches. So I would actually think that there needs to be a specific strategy that tackles that discrepancy. So what is that?
There is actually. So before now, we actually had a marketing plan of going, like I said before, going into diaspora communities in Africa, in the US, which is our first launch market, to actually make sure that our app is known. Because in the end, if it's known, it's used. I mean, you have to be known to actually see that, okay, we have a $1 remittance. I think, to be fair, it's something that will stand out anyway, because imagine if I had to send money to Africa for $1, no matter the amount I was sending. I think it's going to make waves. So we have that aggressive marketing strategy we have planned out in the slides. Because of time, I can't really go through everything, but that's just what it is. To go into the diaspora communities, to do social media campaigns, because I think that's the fireplace to do these things in the media, and to also work with our African bank partners to actually effect a marketing that actually works.
So have you also considered maybe partnering with some of these guys, right?
Yes,
so
we
in
have.
other words, also that B2B approach where you can make it cheaper for them to
Yeah.
get this access.
Absolutely, because if you see on one of our slides that I showed, we had a small logo of an actual remittance company that was about to send money on our platform. So there's actually a plan of them actually coming to put their offers on the platform and match as well, because there's room for that as well. It's all been thought about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, judges. Thank you,
Thank you very
Princess.
much.
Please put your hands together again for her.
Thank you.
Very well done. And we'll be getting the results later on. So we're moving very quickly into another demo, and I hope I get this right. It's a health tech, and it's called GRIC-D. If it's not right, I'm sure they will correct us now. So please welcome Ogenetega Lord Tim to present for GRIC. You're not ready? Sorry? Do you need a few minutes? Okay. Oh, props for the presentation? Got it.
We can go to the stage.
All right. You guys are set?
For the slides, right?
Okay. All right. Here we have some challenges with the screens, but I think they're coming up. Okay, I think they're back up now. So, are we ready now? Now, I know your opinion is not the one that matters, but so far, which presentation do you think is the winner? Princess? Wally?
Okay, so he put it.
Princess, I can see you're biased. All right. Okay, now this one is different, clearly. Sit. Welcome. Good to go? All right, put your hands together for Greek D.
Yes.
And did I get that right? Sort of. Okay, I'll leave it to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Yotimo Genetega, and I'm the founder of Greek. Actually, it's pronounced Greek, not Greek D.
Got it.
Everyone seated in this room today has been a beneficiary of temperature-sensitive medication. Either you've received vaccines, blood, or some other medication which requires an unbroken cold chain. This is not so for millions of people across the globe, particularly children and women. Some statistics show, well, by WHO, states that 19.4 million infants across the globe do not have access to vaccines. And this is largely due to the fact that there's no efficient, cost-effective means of transporting these vaccines to them at the right temperature. Similarly, 1.5 million people die every year. Otherwise, if they had received vaccines, these people would be alive. 40% of maternal deaths that occur are due to excessive bleeding. And if we had a solution that could get this blood to them at the right temperature, it's called the GRICT solution. GRICT is an IoT, smart, active cooling device which facilitates the transportation of temperature-sensitive medication from point A to point B while communicating relevant data in real time. It's a two-part solution. It's a hardware, which is this box, which is responsible for transportation and maintaining the temperature, and is also a software, which provides you real-time insights into relevant information. Some of the features inclusive are temperature control. In contrast to what is obtainable in the market, when you're making use of ice melts, therefore is unable to maintain a temperature for a long period of time. But this, on the other hand, makes use of an active cooling method, which can retain a temperature for as long as 24 hours. Therefore, if you're transporting, say, vaccine, and you need to store it at 4 degrees, you simply enter 4 degrees, you simply turn it on, enter the temperature which you need to store it at, and then it detects the temperature and drives down the temperature and retains that temperature throughout the journey time. It has a battery that can go as long as 24 hours and also has a long holdover time of 4 hours. Holdover time is simply a term coined by the WHO, which simply says when your active method or whatever is powering your active method goes out, how long is it able to maintain the temperature? And we've built a solution that can do so for as long as 4 hours. Similarly, you can gain insight, like I said earlier, through a mobile application or through an enterprise application which can be installed in OCCs in large establishments. Through this device, you can actually track in real time where your devices are. Say, for example, you have things like vaccines which are very expensive. This box can sit as much as $3,000 worth of vaccines. But in the current method, you do not know where these vaccines are. you pray that they get to the last mile. Similar things for blood and other temperature-sensitive medication. It also comes with an alarm system that is triggered whenever it goes beyond or below the temperature range which needs to be stored. One of our major competitive advantages, the technology to this, we actually own the patent and are implementing it with NIDA and NOTAP at the moment. Similarly, this is the only technology in the world that is mobile, active, provides you real-time visibility, and maintains temperature for as long as 24 hours at a price of $350. In contrast to what's obtainable in the market, something like this goes as high as $12,000. So let me paint a scenario. In Nigeria, you have about 9,950 wards across Nigeria. Gavi has said each ward must contain a cold chain solution. How do you expect each of these wards to pay $12,000 to maintain a cold chain for vaccines for the children? That is why in places like Sokoto, you have routine immunization as low as 3%. Therefore, this is the solution for the future. The business model is pretty simple. We understand that asset acquisition can be an issue. Therefore, we have three models. We have one, you can do an outright sale for smaller businesses. We also have a lease model, which gives you equipment as a service. That is, if you cannot afford the asset, you can lease it for a period of time. And you also have subscription. That is, if you own the device or you're leaving the device, you can gain insights through the mobile application or through the enterprise application from your laptop. We launched this product in March 2019, and we've been able to generate over $3,000 worth of revenue to date. We've worked with Nigerian Institute of Medical Research to move products from places like Edo State to Lagos, Jigawa to Lagos. We also sold to the University of Teaching Hospital, Ilorin, Kwara State, where they make use of it in the IVF centers. We recently concluded a project with Zotis Alpha, which is sponsored by the University of Surrey, where we deployed our solution across 3 different cities in Lagos, providing them real-time updates into storage and transportation of samples. And lastly, we were able to work with a logistics company who has given us the ability now to expand our offerings to our clients. That is, if you're not buying, you're not subscribing, we have an asset, we have a logistics partner who can help you move your produce from point A to point B. You might ask, why is this solution relevant now? There are 2 reasons, actually. One is by 2050, the world's population is expected to hit 9 billion people. 9 billion people on the same planet Earth which we live today. That means more people occupying remote locations. If the method we have today is inefficient, how much more then? Therefore, we require a solution that is effective in getting medication at the right temperature to these individuals. But then again, if you're looking at the monetary value, the value of the biopharmaceutical market in Nigeria as of today is $9 billion. It's expected to rise at 16% growth, annual growth. By 2030, this market is expected to hit $110 billion. Nigeria alone. There are other developing countries in Africa, Middle East, Asia, and the rest of the world. The market size for logistics for biopharma products is about $2 billion, and also expected to rise to about 92 in 2022. We look at addressing a market of about $50 million between the same period of time. The wonderful thing about our solution is that it doesn't just solve one problem in one sector. It cuts across various verticals. It can be used in the FMCG, it could be used in the oil and gas, it could be used in the agricultural space, it could be used across various sectors. There are various applications. Some of the individuals that we're currently in talks with are from the FMCG market, the oil and gas sector, and also for the biopharmaceutical aspect. There's a whole market that the Nigerian or developing countries can't play in at the moment because there's no effective means of transporting temperature-sensitive medication. Medicines for tuberculosis, medicine for cancer, and there are victims in Nigeria that have this problem. Our goal as a company is to ensure quality medication gets to every nook and cranny in the globe. Every nook and cranny. Winning this competition would help us achieve this goal. Thank you very much.
Okay, so judges, over to you.
So really good work. I think one of the ones that hit me the most was a slide on the applications of this technology.
Yeah.
And I immediately, of course, thought of the applicability to the agriculture sector, just given, how much wastage there is there.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, have you started to look at how to get this product out into that sector, and how are you thinking about it?
So when I actually came up with this idea, after school, I went into agriculture, primary agriculture, but I discovered that most of my produce were going bad. So I decided, I'm an engineer. Why should I suffer this, right? So let's try to fix the problem. So when we came up with a solution, we discovered two things. The solution was either too expensive for the lower farmer to afford, or the bigger farmers could build cold rooms, right? So we decided to go into this space. But at the moment, we already have 3D printings and working on a prototype for the agricultural space, which ensures that the local farmer can afford and then augment the already existing infrastructure. One thing we've noticed is that trying to disrupt an agriculture or healthcare space people don't accept it, right? So we're looking at how we can infuse our solution by making it portable and then partnering with logistics companies to ensure that we can move products, store products for farmers, and provide them with real-time visibility into all this information at the same time. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Presentation. I was just curious, where did you go to school again?
Covenant University. Covenant. Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
You talked about your powering, how you power the 4-hour downtime. What happens after the 4 hours if your powering device stops working?
Okay, so what happens is, what we've tried to do is, you have a battery that goes for as long as 24 hours. You have a holdover time of 4 hours. But we've also introduced some other form of technology which also kind of provides you with options, which is this. So basically, if you have a vehicle or you have a motorcycle, you can plug this to your vehicle alternator and then it can power it. And also, we've taken into consideration the fact that it needs to be low powered so that we can implement a solar solution into it. Currently, it consumes 40 watts per hour. Therefore, we're looking at, so we have this bag which is used for moving it. So we're implementing solar panels, the flexible solar panels on the top. Therefore, if you're moving in field, you're able to power it and not solely rely on the battery which is stored within it.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
First question, so what part of this technology is proprietary?
Okay, so two things. It's the application. So we've combined different technologies which already exist, right? And then applied for the patent based on its application and the design, right? So we've combined several technologies, right? And then, okay, so here are the things. If in this space, you either have
any patents, and do you own any part of this technology?
Yes, we have a patent, which we showed on the previous slide. But I mean, if I have your email address, I can forward the copies. But yes, we have the patent for the design and the technology which we currently make use of for this.
Okay. And second question, because you were saying that it has different use cases in the oil and gas and agriculture, et cetera, but that's a small box. So do you have the ability to separate the temperature regulation component from the actual unit?
Yeah, so for the oil and gas space, I understand you're saying it's a small box, but here's the scenario. For Department of Petroleum Resources, for every field, oil field that they work in, they collect samples. These samples are collected in, forgotten the name of the bottles, but then they fit perfectly into this. Because one of the recent recommendations which one of the staffs at DPR made was to actually make use of this, an active cooling method, in contrast to what they currently use. But secondly, we can separate any technology, be it the communication module, to currently replace what the normal existing businesses use. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Okay, basically, most people who have facilities where they store vaccines, they have something called like a temperature reader, but you have to be on field in order for you to get the temperature. But we have built a module which you can extract from this, put into that, and get your temperature, your location in real time via your mobile application. Similar things for the cooling technology is something that we also extract into to put into other for the agriculture space as well.
So I have a couple of questions. One sort of like rides on top of her last question is, are you considering other SKUs, other SKUs, other formats for this technology, both design-wise and for the cooling technology?
Sorry, what's an SKU? I don't know what that is.
So basically, right now, I'll give you an example. So a bottle of Coke, right, comes in 35 cl, comes in 50 cl, comes in 100 cl. Those are 3 different SKUs for 3 different purposes, right? Even though it's the same product. So I'm asking if you have considered other formats, other SKUs for your cooling.
Yeah, so this product majorly solves the problem within the health space. That's this size, which is a 15-liter size. But we understand if we're going to play in other sectors, we have to build for those sectors because there are some particular uniqueness. Like, for example, you mentioned Coca-Cola products, right? A bottle, this can contain up to a crate, right? So you need something much larger. So we also understand that we have to build for that as well. So yes, we've considered it, and we're also in talks with a couple of other organizations, which I can mention here, but are in the FMCG space.
Okay. Next question is, how rigorously tested is this product?
Hello? Okay. I'll give you an instance. We've worked with Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. They currently make use of it since we launched. They were one of the very first people we went into business with. And since then, they actually make use of it on the field, both in Jigawa, Edo State, and then it has to enter into vehicles. It has to be flown all the way from Kano to Lagos State, right? So as far as we've been able to test with our clients, it's rigorous enough to stand the Nigerian or the developing country space.
Thank you.
Sorry. Please.
Okay, yeah, very quickly. So what are the key factors for growth for you, considering the unique economics of this hardware?
Could you rephrase the question again?
Key factors for growth.
Okay, key factors for growth. So typically, at the moment, we build a box manually in Nigeria. We get the mold from China, or we buy our components from Oyinbo market, right? But we just recently had an issue where a client asked for 50 units, and we're unable to meet that demand. Why? Because it takes almost about 1 week, couple of days, to build one device. So one of the major things we're looking at is manufacturing agreements with organizations such as Eleganza, who can help us produce our mold, right? So that we can also build quickly, right? Secondly, another thing is laboratory testing. There are particular certifications which we're looking at, especially the PQS certification. Getting that involves us having a laboratory for us to be able to carry out some particular research. So basically, what we're looking at now is partnerships with already existing organizations so that we don't also have to acquire a lot of assets in developing or expanding the business. Thank you.
Right. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tega, please put your hands together for him again. I think from the frequency of the applause, I think that was quite a popular presentation. So we'll see what the judges think later on. We still have one more presentation to go, but we'll take that after the master classes. So we want to be very efficient with this. In the next 30 minutes, we want to come back for the presentations. So this is the time for you to go to those master classes that you've pre-registered for. As I mentioned, it's just this way, the first and second floor, just behind this little curtain here. So please make your way there now and look for the venues that concern you. While the master classes are happening, we're still going to have one presentation here. So I want to welcome Kenneth George from AFF, who would introduce that presentation. And we should all aim to be back here by 4:30. Thank you. Kenneth?
Welcome to Disrupt 2019. So, we're not going to have Carl giving us the masterclass in robotics. The next masterclass was originally scheduled to be a live session with the chief AI data scientist of Facebook, Jan LeCun, but he is 5 hours away. He's in New York, and he couldn't make it. So we got him to do a pre-recorded live session for us. So right now, welcome Barbara Iyayi, MD CEO, Element Incorporated, Africa, to please introduce Jan LeCun.
Welcome to the Deep Learning, Artificial Intelligence, Digital Identity Masterclass. My name is Barbara Iyayi. I'm the Chief Growth Officer and MD for Africa for Element. Element is an AI company focused on digital identity. So we've talked about how identity is a very important part of digital transformation. Today, I'm going to introduce our co-founder, Jan LeCun, who is currently the chief AI scientist at Facebook, and he was a pioneer in coming up with convolutional neural networks, which is focused on recognizing images, sounds, natural language, and we're going to get into a deep dive session on how deep learning can be effective in doing that.
Learning is ready yet for this kind of technology. And so the first systems that we built actually didn't use deep learning. And then the engineering team sort of decided to use deep learning anyway. And it turns out it works really, really well. And so that was one case where I was too timid, actually, with my own inventions. And the engineers at Element actually proved me wrong in a very happy way. I'm very happy that they proved me wrong. Since then, deep learning convolutional nets have been used for all kinds of authentication systems, for face recognition, for fingerprints, for palm print, all kinds of different biometrics. And the combination of some of those is conducive to very reliable identity verification. And again, that opens the door to all kinds of new services, particularly in countries where the infrastructure for identity is not fully developed. Okay, so when we talk about AI today, we really mean deep learning. And for image recognition, when we talk about deep learning, we really mean convolutional nets. Convolutional nets is a technology I invented. And it's what is universally used now for image recognition and image analysis. So sometimes we can ask ourselves the question, why is AI needed for face recognition or palm print recognition or fingerprint recognition? Fingerprint recognition is relatively simple if you have a specific sensors. But recognizing someone from the face or from just a photo using a smartphone of the palm is actually much more challenging. To build a system that is capable of doing this using convolutional nets, using deep learning, using AI, you collect lots of data, lots of images of faces of people, and you need to have multiple pictures of a face of a single person so that you can tell how the face is going to change when the person has a different facial expression, when the person changes pose, perhaps when the person takes the glasses off or happens to grow facial hair or something like this. So you need a diverse set of images of the same person. And then you need images of lots of different people. Now you train a convolutional net to recognize the people that within the gallery that you have through supervised learning. Show it the person the picture of a person, tell the machine this is person A. If the machine doesn't say person A, adjust the parameters so that next time you show the same picture, the answer gets closer to the one you want. Do this with thousands or millions of people. What you get is a system that's able to recognize those people you've trained it on. But now what you want is a system that's able to recognize anybody. with just a few pictures of them. And so, in fact, what you realize is now you have a neural net you can show an image to, and it's going to extract what we call a feature vector, which is a long list of numbers that are kind of a signature of that person. And if you compare that signature to sort of a reference signature obtained from a few pictures of a particular person, you can identify that person. You can at least authenticate that person. And so, although the training is only done on a limited number of people, the system in the end is universal. It can be applied to any face and basically authenticate any face. So that's why machine learning, AI, deep learning, convolutional nets are the key technology for authentication and for identification. All right, so let me take a very concrete example. Element here in Nigeria is working with Access Bank, which is by far the largest bank in Nigeria, to use AI-based identity verification and authentication to help people create bank accounts and authenticate financial operation, so that financial services can be provided to them without the fear of their identity being stolen or being faked. And so that's a very important, concrete application here. Element has been kind of doing this kind of work in various parts of the world and with great success. So Element's identification technology has been developed for a lot of applications in very different parts of the world. And therefore, Element is really used to dealing with inclusivity and sort of making sure the systems work for all kinds of different people. This is sort of a crucial aspect of Element. The services span Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and with an enormous diversity of people. So the AI techniques that are used are really sort of crucial to getting the kind of performance you need in those kind of very diverse situations.
What other applications of AI outside of financial services are important for Africa?
Access to healthcare and medicine is very important. It's very difficult sometimes to sort of have local access to different types of services. And AI and communication services can sort of democratize medical services like medical image analysis, diagnosis systems, etc. There's wonderful applications of AI in analyzing the retina, which there's a disease that's the first cause of blindness in the world, which is a consequence of diabetes. It's prevalent in some parts of Africa. There's wonderful work attempting to detect malaria parasites in microscopic images, which can be taken with a simple microscope and a cell phone. And those images can be shipped to a service that automatically detects what the presence or the count of malaria parasites in the image. I mean, there's a huge amount of promises certainly in the area of healthcare.
How do you see AI evolving in the coming years?
So one big challenge for the next few years in AI is how to get machines to acquire those models of the world by observation, a little bit like babies and animals, and then use this to accelerate the type of learning that we can get them to do. That's, in my opinion, how we will get to robots that are dexterous and agile, machines that have a little bit of common sense, so intelligent agents that you can interact with that will answer any questions you have, help you in your daily lives like a human assistant. This is the future. We don't know how to do it yet. It's probably going to take a few decades.
What's next for AI in Africa?
Okay, so AI is really sort of a nascent field in Africa, but it's very exciting, and all the statistics of demographics are there to show us that the African population is very young. So most of AI research in the future, in the next several decades, will come out of Africa. It's the numerical necessity. So Facebook has been very active in sort of helping technology getting developed in Africa through its sponsorship of the AI Masters in Africa, which is located in Kigali. So that program was created by Mustafa Cissé, who used to be a research scientist at Facebook in Paris. But I hired him in Paris, and he really felt very strongly that AI could have a big impact in Africa and really wanted to go back to Africa. So he went back to Africa a little over a year ago and created this master's program located in Kigali. He also runs a research lab in Ghana that belongs to Google. And it's sort of creating a center of research activity and education in Africa, which I think would be the seed for a lot of activities around AI in Africa. A lot of people from Facebook, from Google, and various other places, several universities, have spent a week or two in Kigali and taught the students there about the latest development in AI. And it's really very exciting to see how much interest there is. I see this every day in my Facebook feed. When I make a post, there's a lot of reaction from young people in Africa who are really enthusiastic about the topic, and I think this bodes well for the future.
How can we engage further with AI in Africa?
Actually, several years ago, I founded a conference called the International Conference on Learning Representation. We call it ICLEAR. In fact, it just took place last week in New Orleans in the US. Next year, in 2020, ICLEAR will actually take place in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. This is the first time a major machine learning conference is taking place in Africa. And we did this on purpose because of the nascent AI research community in Africa, because we thought it would send a strong signal that AI in Africa is kind of coming up, and I'm really looking forward to going there next year. Thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure discussing AI with you. I will hand it over now to Barbara, who is one of the leaders at Element, and she's working with Access Bank in Nigeria to sort of bring Element's technology to Africa. Please don't hesitate to ask her any question that you may have about the technology or about the deployment of AI.
So we're going to take a few more questions, I guess, from Twitter. No questions. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, but I think there are or there aren't.
All right, so do we have any questions in the room? Okay, we have one here. 1 second, let me give them a mic. You don't have to come to the stage, but since you're here, you can just go ahead. Can we turn on this Cordlex? Go ahead, yeah, it's on.
Yeah, my question is, you said a lot about deep learning and neural networks, but I want to ask about the computing power and the data asset as one of the major challenges we have. How are you being able to work around the computing power to train your model? Because in Africa or Nigeria, when you train a neural network for like 24 hours and you're still not getting a good validation scores, so how have you been able to maneuver around that? And how have you been able to annotate some data you are using for training? Thank you.
So I'll just give you a simple answer to that from our perspective. Our company was set up in 2012, so we've actually spent a long time in training our models and building this technology. This didn't happen overnight. And I think that's the universal point around AI. This isn't something that happens right away. It's a long process. And the truth is, it's just starting in Africa. So we haven't even seen what's going to happen in the future for Africa. We haven't even started because we haven't even hired the people on ground to actually build AI innovation and to, like you said, use the local data to train these algorithms and create these opportunities. We haven't done that in Africa in a powerful way. I think we've heard that Microsoft and all these different companies are trying to do that, but we have a long way to go. As a company, though, Element, we're focused on digital identity, which is purely around applying deep learning on biometrics, facial recognition, fingerprints, as Jan mentioned. But that has been a long process to get here. And now we can actually deploy the software to all these different entities that want to identify customers on the mobile device, authenticate across different channels, and grow their digital ecosystem.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Abraham. This is a question I have. How can artificial intelligence affect business? Maybe the impact it can have on investors, traders, and something like this.
Okay, I wasn't sure I got the question. How can AI affect investors and traders?
Yes.
With respect to making investment decisions, or with the companies that they invest in, they have to have AI incorporated in their technology? Which side are you on, the portfolio company side or the investor side? I'm confused.
If it can be on both sides.
Both sides?
Yeah.
There are lots of interesting financial fintech companies doing interesting things around, creating investment opportunities using like robo investors and things like that. And there's an AI opportunity there. I think I've always said that, like I said just now, the next generation of unicorns will have to incorporate AI in some way. So if I'm an investor investing in companies and they're using data and they're capturing data, I'm thinking, are we leveraging predictive analytics? Are we leveraging AI, machine learning? Are we credit scoring? What are we doing that will create insights with that data and let us capitalize on it? If I'm not seeing that, that's not a good investment opportunity for the next 5 to 10 years. And that's just a fact. I think Jan just said it. There's a huge opportunity in Africa because all these big tech companies, they have not used local African data. And it's up to us to take advantage of that data and come up with innovative AI opportunities. And that's going to be the next 5 to 10 years. So just to end this, because it sounds like I only had 2 questions.
Do we have any more questions in the room? We have one here. Okay.
Okay, another one.
No.
Right. Good evening.
Yeah.
Quite briefly, I want to know how we can deploy AI in healthcare. I'm a doctor, so we've seen quite a number of gaps in terms of the fact that the literacy level is low, and I believe that we could really leverage AI in trying to educate the uneducated and try as much as possible to help healthcare professionals to take decisions. So how is Element, your company, coming in that regard, utilizing AI in healthcare, please? Thank you.
That's a great question. Like Jan said, AI can be honestly applied to so many different applications. We're doing a lot in the healthcare space in terms of health insurance, for example, helping identify people to be able to give them health insurance. We're linking their patient ID or their unique ID to the rest of the healthcare ecosystem, taking that person who has health insurance, giving them diagnostic treatments, and helping them access other healthcare opportunities. The important thing about technology and AI in general is that it has to be fit for purpose. And for us, what was important was leveraging the mobile device. So we know that most people are using the mobile device. So if we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about how do we get healthcare through digital means, right? So how do we identify that patient using their mobile device so that they can go to the hospital, they can get health insurance, they can be diagnosed, they can be identified for specific types of services. So there's, another thing we also do is infant biometrics, which can also be leveraged on the mobile device. So a lot of people talk about birth registration, vaccinations, and immunizations of children when it comes to specific things. All of that can be done efficiently, with the transparency, leveraging AI, with digital identity. So there are many use cases in financial services, in healthcare, with the government services, and the whole point is to really give access to services to the population. So that's what we're about.
All
okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hands together again for Barbara Iyayi. She's the Managing Director, Africa Element Incorporated, United States of America. Put your hands together again for her, please. We have one more demo presentation before we take the final panel discussion today. I'd like to introduce Daniel Bloch. I hope I pronounced that well, from Sesso Prop Tech. Daniel? Okay. All right, please put your hands together for Daniel, the last presentation for the day.
Okay, I think we'll start. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Daniel. I'm the CEO of Sesso Global.
Hi, my name is Dimeji. I'm the Senior Vice President for Business Development at Sesso Global. What is Sesso Global? We are a real estate blockchain company. What is the problem we are trying to address, everyone? We're trying to address the problem of lack of trust in the mortgage and in the land transaction system in Lagos and in Nigeria. I'm sure looking at the inscription on your screen, on your screens, you can see this land is not for sale. I'm sure many of us who live in Lagos, a lot of people who have traveled down as well to cities in Lagos and things like that, have seen these sort of inscriptions. It's basically trying to avoid a 419 situation. What is the problem, and why do we say there's a gap in the lack of trust in the land transaction system in Nigeria and generally across the world as well? Paper is lost, it's stolen, it's corrupted. I'm sure even in our individual offices, we see issues such as, taking paper documents, files, whatever you need to call it, from office to office, from department to department. This gives room for loss of paper, leaves room for paper to be doctored. Land titles. This is an important and integral part of our land transaction system in Nigeria and indeed across the world. If we don't address the trust in our system, then we can unlock the capital. The problem, what is the problem? As entrepreneurs, we love problems, and that's how Daniel and I make money. That's how Philip and all the other members of the team start over there and make money. There is indeed about $9 trillion worth of capital that is unlocked globally. As you can imagine, because of our population in Nigeria, this gives a significant amount to the opportunities abound here. In Africa and in Nigeria specifically, I'm sure that we know there's a housing deficit. A lot of people don't have homes. A lot of people want to buy homes. I see a lot of young people in the room this afternoon who would like to buy their own homes instead of paying rent. I'm personally tired of paying rent. What does this mean? This means that if there's more capital unlocked in the system, then we can all access debt to finance our homes and land transactions cheaper.
So what is the solution? Sesso is a blockchain platform that is solving the problem of lending in emerging markets. We're bringing a new age for property finance. So let me show you how it works. Sesso brings together all of the stakeholders in a property transaction. We have property developers and sellers on the market. We have land service providers like law firms, surveyors, and valuers. We have banks who look at the documents and approve the properties for loans. And then we have a portal for buyers to come on and transact on trusted properties. So to walk you through how a transaction on Sesso works, we work with trusted sellers, property developers, organizations. We then take their documents, digitize them onto the blockchain platform. We then verify these documents with trusted lawyers, surveyors, valuers. We then work with our bank partners to verify the property before pre-approving it for a mortgage. And then users can log on to the Sesso marketplace and transact, buy properties, and get loans on trusted properties. So what is the progress we've made to date? We've signed up some of the key stakeholders in the market, some of the biggest law firms, some very trusted property developers, several banks here in Nigeria, and fortunately now our first banks in Ghana as well. And we're pleased to announce that we've recently signed a partnership with the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company, a partnership between the Ministry of Finance in Nigeria and 25 banks to lower the cost of debt in Nigeria. So how does the blockchain work? We have 3 key aspects. The blockchain provides a consensus mechanism where all of the parties need to digitally approve the transaction before going through. The blockchain provides a decentralized database. So this means the records are distributed between the different stakeholders and records cannot get lost. The blockchain also provides an immutable registry. And this key aspect is the records cannot be changed once they are on the blockchain. They can be updated, but you always have a record trail of the past transactions. So what are the key benefits of Sesso? We increase revenue through our partners by facilitating more transactions. We decrease costs for buyers who want to buy property and get mortgages. We create opportunities for refinancing, and this will be huge for banks such as Access to bring money from abroad into Nigeria to make mortgage rates cheaper. And at the core, we're trying to build a trusted registry on the blockchain where people can easily access capital to buy property. So we'll show you quickly how the platform works. It's a property marketplace. You can log on today at app.sesso.global, and you can see the properties that are available. You can then click on one of the properties, schedule a tour, request a service from a law firm, valuation firm, surveying firm, pay for the property, and then request a mortgage where the documents will instantly be sent to the partnered mortgage banks. So how do we make money? Sesso acts as a broker in line with how the property market works today. We take a brokerage fee from the property developers, we take a brokerage fee from the mortgage banks, and we take transactional fees from the lawyers, surveyors, and valuers who are making documentation through the platform. So what is the market size? The market size is, right now, people think, wow, there's not really mortgages in Nigeria. But today, the mortgage market is $4 billion a year. And this is really just the start. If we compare Nigeria to, say, South Africa, at the same mortgage rate, this would equal $80 billion a year for mortgage financing in Nigeria. So imagine how many houses could be bought. And we think this is going to come as an exponential rate. You know, imagine when the day comes when the monthly mortgage payment is the same as your monthly rental payment. Why would anyone rent a property for the same price you can be a homeowner? So who are the competitors in the market? There's companies currently making software for land registries, for government, and those really focusing on the property sales and marketplace. Sesso is the first one-stop shop that encapsulates all parts of the land transaction. So Sesso has raised our first round of financing to date. We've solidified our first revenues, and we hope to be at over $1 million in revenue by the end of this year.
The dream team, the team here to unlock the massive amount of capital for the Nigerian mortgage market. You've met Daniel, a member of our team is over there as well. We have a global team to customize a Nigerian problem. Advisory board. We have those who have worked in EcoBank, on the board of the Ghanaian Stock Exchange, etc. We have Deloitte and EY who are there to take us to the promised land. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just stand here. The judges need to answer the questions.
Hello.
Okay. Is it on now? Can we get the mics on, please, for the judges? Yes, it's on.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Well done. First question, how many individual Nigerian mortgages have you facilitated?
Yeah, so the platform has just launched in beta, so we'll be going live to the marketing next month.
So what's the mix of your revenue so far?
Yeah, so at this point, it's just been licensing fees for building software. So the issue was when we entered the market, really our software could not really, a lot of the, for instance, the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company did not have platforms to integrate. So we now have been building out software tools for the clients and then should be go live next month. So been iterations, testing.
Where's happening?
Yeah, so if you think about it, that we don't provide mortgages. We are, if you can think in the UK, like Compare Now. So we say that Sesso does not offer cheaper mortgage rates. We offer competitive mortgage rates. So the issue right now is we don't know what the different banks offer for mortgages. And it can take a while during the process to get a rate back. So what we're trying to do is create a competitive market. On our platform, it says the rate of each mortgage bank. And through competition, we want to lower the rates.
Hello, testing. I was very excited when I saw your first page because you're identifying a key problem that definitely blocks quite a lot of wealth creation in the country, which is access to debt, just some debt capital, right? So I thought that maybe the solution was one that would solve the title problem. It seems to me that it solves the title problem within a very small group of people who use the platform. Is there any intention to grow this beyond that in order for it to really reach that big impact? And additionally, is there any integration to the actual land registry? Because it seems that this is sort of on its own, separate from that for now. Is that correct?
Sort of, yes. So I'll thank you for your question. The problem we have in Nigeria generally is one of lack of cohesiveness amongst all arms of government. That's something we're facing in our own business as well. A problem we hope that we'll be able to solve together as an ecosystem. At the moment, we have the topmost law firms in the country who work with us, and as a result, they are even driving the process even maybe faster than we expected. So it's an entire stakeholder engagement process. As you're aware, you would realize that even different states in Nigeria have different land laws. So it's a bit complicated, and what we've done, Daniel will agree with me, that we've taken it by regions. So we've started with the north, we started with the southwest, and then we hope to go around the Niger Delta area towards the end of the year. So it's work in progress, and our entire model revolves around stakeholder engagement, which is what we believe will take us to that promised land. Thank you.
And I just wanted to touch on just a general aspect of land digitization. So if you go to Kaduna right now, there's signs in the north that say, come register your land. So they're trying to get people to come register their land. And what they find is that very, very few people will come to even register the land. Because they say that occupancy is 80% of ownership. So if I live in a property, all my neighbors know I live there. I have a gun, so I'm not going to leave. I own the property. And so they find that very few people will go and register their property because the people aren't stupid, and they realize quickly that this is a scheme to get taxed. Why do I want a land title? The only thing I get out of it is a tax bill. And so we see there needs to be a motivation to join the registry, and the motivation is access to capital. So if there's a clear reason to join the registry, it doesn't need to digitize the government registry, let alone do we know if the registry is correct at the government, and aligns with the ground. So we're trying to build an incentive model which in the long term will create the title registry.
And just back to her question, because I'm not sure we actually addressed it, is that there is a fundamental block there, that access to capital may not even be the big problem, it's the level of financing. So if there isn't a proper structure in place to bring that level down, you may actually just see that, you may not get the kind of traction that you're hoping for. So I would actually want to see if you've considered thinking around how the solution you're bringing can actually result in some costs being, cost savings being passed along to customers.
Yeah, so that is a key aspect of saving costs because buying a property is very expensive. 5% agency fees, 10% legal fees. So, we have a lot of the stakeholders on our platform now, but we are trying to disrupt that space. What is the lawyer doing for 10%? What is the agent doing for 5%? And we see that all the different brokers have different models and different systems. And so we want to solve that, but we have a white label option. This is what we hope Access Bank will use as well, where others can go out on the CESO, put their properties, use our mortgage APIs, use our request service APIs, and this will fundamentally, cut the different sectors out. So going to the different agents, saving times. A lot of the mortgage banks right now will make you pay a monthly fee to stay in the system. We've been told by the developers that the mortgage banks will send them the wrong documents on purpose to slow down the process and continue more fees. So CESO creates competition, and it's really competition that's going to drive, fundamental change in the system.
Can I please add to what Daniel said as well? The biggest problem we have is a trust problem. Like you said, not actually a capital problem. Yes, we'd all like favorable rates on our mortgages, etc. But what we're trying to do is to see how all the stakeholders within a mortgage transaction can come together to agree. The problem we have in Nigeria at the moment is the lack of agreement. We've done research over a number of years to see that this indeed is a problem. So in a typical mortgage transaction, guys, you have the valuation company, you have the lawyers, you have the buyer, you have the financing partner, i.e. the mortgage bank. Now, each party has their own service provider. Each party has their lawyer, has their own, and nobody can agree. This is what increases the lead time in mortgage transactions. I tried to do one as well when I got married, and the problem is the time was just too long. The process was very painful, and that's why we're trying to start with the top tier service providers. We're hoping that with those, we can get trust with the ecosystem, within the ecosystem. So for example, a valuation company can trust that Olaniwo Ajayi, a legal practice, for example, will not present, false valuation on property. So everybody can agree and share the costs. Most importantly, the individual cost to each stakeholder is particularly high. And then we're hoping that if they're able to share the costs, it will all drop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for them. That's CESO Prop Tech. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for sticking with us till this time. We're practically coming to the end of discussions today, but this is one panel session that is so important. It is one you do not want to miss. It is one that affects us all. It's talking about the future of cash in a digital world. Please welcome to the stage our panelists, Claudio Serasani, Global Marketing and Sales General Manager, Giori Digital. Please put your hands together for him. Also welcome Zelda Akindele, Partner at Templars. Please put your hands together for Zelda. I know we're tired, but please just a little bit more. We're almost done. Give everything you have to this particular session. Join me as well to welcome to the stage Uzoma Dozie, former Chief Executive Officer, Diamond Bank Nigeria.
Thank you very much for sticking with us today. Before we came on, we already started arguing about digital and cash, so this should be an interesting panel discussion. So they say that cash is king, and we know why. You get immediate value, it's easy, it's convenient as well. But they also say in some businesses that cash is a killer because it's expensive, it's bulky, it's hard, it's very expensive to manage. And of course, it leads to temptation as well. When it's there, you can easily take it. So the question is, why hasn't cash been disrupted by the innovation and technology in ways to make payment? Why is it so difficult for us to transform people from cash payments to digital payments? And what are the factors affecting it? Is it regulation? Is it inclusion? Is it just culture and the will to change? So luckily I have experts here, and I have Zelda, who is a partner at Templars and very versed in regulation and policy. And of course we have Claudio, who is high experience in digital money, and will explain to us the difference between mobile money, digital currency, and crypto as well. So let me get the ball rolling, and with you, Zelda. First question is, what role does regulation have to play in transforming our Nigerian market from a cash economy to digital. And the question is that sometimes, as Brett said this morning, technology is moving very fast. Are we moving as fast with regulation, legislation, and policies to really scale?
Thank you. Thanks, Uzoma. So I think that most people in this room would probably agree that the regulation has not historically been moving as fast as it needs to be. Unfortunately, and this is not something that's limited to the Nigerian market, it's been the case in most markets that the regulators are usually one step behind. But typically in the Nigerian market, our regulators, so CBN, SEC, NCC, and this is not to knock them, I think they are trying, but they've been reactive more than proactive. So I think some of the things that we need to do to actually see us really make that big leap into, real digital currency, online money payments, even more than we are seeing already, is certainly what we would call a proactive regulation. So for example, they can't actually wait for the technology to happen. They need to actually house tech teams, right, within the regulators who can actually see the technology coming. Something else that they can do, which has actually been very successful in other jurisdictions, is what we call a regulatory sandbox. And basically, they do this in the UK. The UK Financial Conduct Authority does this, and it's been very successful with a lot of companies. And what they do is that for a limited period of time, fintech startups can actually market their products to a very limited number of people without being licensed. And it achieves two aims. One, the regulator actually gets to stress test the regulations. So how does this work when these products are being offered to the public? Do we have regulatory issues? And they don't have to play catch up. They can, move along. And also for the fintech company, they don't have to worry about some of the regulations because they're still able to kind of test. So I think that there's a lot for our regulators to do, but a big part of it is actually being proactive rather than reactive.
Thank you. So Claudio, if we sort our regulatory issues out and we have a very friendly, enabling regulatory environment, how easy is it for us to transform from cash to digital? From your own opinion, in this market of Nigeria?
Okay, it's a very, very difficult question. And first of all, if I may, I just want to a little bit to define what is a digital currency, because I think there is still a lot of confusion between cryptocurrency and digital currency, that are two totally different things. Cryptocurrency is considered as an asset. Digital currency is really the digital expression of the banknotes and coins. So that it's the same thing but in digital. And the definition, the latest definition that the IMF and BIS is giving is CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. You will hear about this a lot in future. Just keep in mind, CBDC is digital currency and not the current cryptocurrencies. So how easy it will be? Yeah, it's, as I say, it's a very difficult question because there is a lot of barrier to change. First of all, why the people are still using physical cash? There is a cultural barrier, there is a cost barrier, sometimes even a technological barrier, and that's the reason why the people are still preferring to use cash. That for them, most of the people, it's free. But for the country, is not. It's one of the most expensive payment means. And that, I think, is the reason why this transformation must be pushed by the regulators, by the way, and the central banks. I know that it's difficult to convince a central bank to make disruption. Extremely. Yeah. I'm mainly working with central banks in the past 20 years. But this is probably the biggest transformation that the central bank will have to do in the next 10 years. And I have the experience because central banks are already piloting this digital currency. And maybe I will explain later, this is going to change the way you pay. Again, you see how it's going to change.
So let me just ask a further question. So today in Nigeria, there are many people who don't use cash. They transfer money from their bank account electronically, make payments, pay by point of sale terminals, and they are not actually using physical cash. Isn't this one step in that direction? I mean, what's the difference between that as digital? Because we have put the physical cash in the bank, and now we are now spending it electronically across the market.
Okay, I don't want to be pedantic, but the money has three features. You can categorize the three features of the money. It's a central bank issued, electronic, and universally accessible. Example, electronic and universally accessible is the commercial bank money, or the mobile bank money that you use. It's commercial bank money, it's a private money. Then you have the central bank reserve that are central bank issued and are electronic. Then you have banknotes and coin that are electronic and central bank issued. The CBDC is having all three together. It's the only mean of payment that can have all three. So it's something that is backed up by the central bank. So it's your money, and when you exchange the money, you don't have clearing and settlement. You don't have extra cost of transaction. It's just a move of value. And like cash, but it's 100 times less expensive than cash. So
for the provider of this service with central bank, it's a better way of managing monetary exchange in the economy.
Yeah, for the central bank, it depends on which kind of digital currency you issue. But for the central bank, the monetary policy is not going to change.
Yeah, of course.
So
the challenge still is, with millions of Nigerians excluded, financially excluded, it's still going to, you won't get that scale that you want, whether it is, especially if you're converting from a cash economy to a digital economy as a regulator. So the challenge there is the infrastructure, is the exclusion, is the regulation, and the policies. Zelda, you want to add there?
You know, what I wanted to add actually is that you're completely correct, but there are actually ways that we can scale it, which until recently our central bank has been a little bit reticent about. One of them is actually allowing the telcos to do more. And you see this in other jurisdictions as well. CBN, a couple of years ago, finally, they signed an MOA with NCC, and they said they were going to let the telcos do it, but they didn't actually go ahead and do it. Now, this year, though, we know that they're all a little bit more serious about it. We know that MTN has announced that they're going to do it. But if you look at some of the other jurisdictions where financial inclusion is a real problem, like in Africa, other parts of Africa, they've had a lot of success with telco-driven mobile wallets, etc. So obviously, examples like M-Pesa. M-Pesa is not run by any bank or financial company. It's run by a telco, right? So that is actually one area that the regulator could help us scale up very quickly in terms of reaching those who are excluded financially.
Question is, a lot of bankers here who won't like what you just said. Anyway, the question is, people already have mobile phones. A lot of people have mobile phones. I think, as Claudia said, cash is very expensive, but people are used to it. How do we get people to understand the cost of cash and the benefit of going, first of all, I would say electronically, before you now move into that digital space?
To be honest, again, this is another place that the regulator has a role to play. Whether they're ready to assume that role or not is a different question, but in terms of raising awareness, right? So you can't give yourself a 2020 target for financial inclusion whilst you're very aware of the informal economy without being cognizant of microeconomies who are perhaps not large enough, like you say, to participate in the larger economy because of issues like taxation and recognition. So I think that the regulator has to appreciate those microeconomies. They have to build capacity within those economies and awareness and understanding that actually there are other ways. There are over 170 million subscribers in Nigeria for mobile services, mobile phone services. So it's actually a real shame that the regulator is not playing more on that in terms of getting people what they need to get in terms of financial services. But I think you wanted to add something.
I don't think the people will ever understand the cost of cash. That's for sure. They will always expect for free, unless they don't withdraw, but sometimes it's expensive. I think the merchant and the banks and the corporates understand much better the cost of a transaction, even the digital and the cost of managing cash. But theoretically, I mean, now you have this, but what if you can see these, it's exactly the same, but in a picture on your mobile phone with the face value. What if the banks and the licensed institution can distribute it? What if a bank can give a cash wallet to people that doesn't have the account in that bank? What if all the payment system can connect to this digital currency through Open API, making everything interoperable by definition? And what if this system is the less expensive mean of payment of everything else? Are you going to use it?
So, the next question I want to ask is, you say the future of Africa is digital, and because we have an opportunity to leapfrog what other countries have done, and you can see from the payment system as well. Is there a danger that if we don't act now, that we might be left behind, and it might make us uncompetitive in the world stage as the biggest nation in Africa?
I mean, I think there's certainly a risk of that. Africa's been left behind in a lot of industrial revolutions. This is the next big one, and I wouldn't even say next. It's already here. We're in the thick of it now, and I think that there is certainly a risk because whilst certain forms may never be fully accepted on the world stage, like certain cryptocurrencies, because we know that global central banks don't view them favorably, certainly the trend is increasingly towards online payments, digital payments, mobile money, mobile payment transfer systems, and Africa simply can't afford to be left behind. For one thing, we have massive external trade with the rest of the world. I mean, China already does a majority of its trade using these payment systems, and it would be hugely disadvantageous to Africa if we don't try and keep up with that. So I think the onus is really on us to, like you say, try and get in on the tech now and leapfrog to where we need to be.
So, yes, we'll be allowing the audience to ask a few questions in about 2 minutes. And they've asked that, please, could you also put your questions on Twitter so that we can also answer it from here as well. So, Claude, before we get to digital currencies, what is the enabling environment required for you that will make it successful, that will also allow central banks to say, yes, this is actually, we are now ready for it? Because what you normally find is resistance. You know, people are not ready, we don't have right systems, this is Africa. What advice do you give?
First of all, I think that Africa is one of the best places where to, let's say, to launch this kind of solution, because in any case, it's helping the financial inclusion. It's giving an additional instrument to make the payment, the way to pay easier, and so potentially to include more people. The difficulty that I find is, first of all, to understand. Still to understand, and to understand which kind of change can bring in the entire ecosystem. Because it's going to change. I mean, introducing a digital currency is going to change the way you manage the cash life cycle. And it's going to change the way the payments are flowing in the country. They're going to impact as well the current ecosystem, because it can push other players in the digital payment to be more competitive. So there is a lot of changes, and the people, of course, the central bank specifically, it's really risk adverse, so they want to understand all the implication of the changes. And even all the other players want to understand the implication of this change as well. So that's the reason why most of the central banks are now piloting it and see how it works. So we had a very, very successful 6 months pilot in Uruguay last year of 6 months that IMF also certified as a very successful one. So now that it's a proof, and other central banks are following the same path.
Okay, so the last question to you. I think legal services, or the legal system has a big role to play. What advice would you give the regulator? And what is the from your own perspective, what is the benefit to your segment and also society of a cashless environment?
I think the benefits to the legal sector are probably the same as the benefits to the larger economy. You know, it's faster, it's more accessible, it's speedy, it's less expensive, all of these things. But in terms of advice to the regulators, I have quite a few. Do we have time? No, but I think we've already talked about how they have to be proactive. But I think it's actually a lot deeper than that, right? Because in Nigeria, we have a regulator, CBN, that actually does a little bit more than just manage our money supply and regulate, you know, the financial institutions. Of course, they also set monetary policy. And with the way that the digital, you know, payment system, digital money is moving, very soon we might find ourselves in a situation where the bulk of accessibility, technical development, and even pricing of money and payments are actually in the private sector hands. And I think that CBN as a regulator actually need to start thinking about where they want to be in the future. Do they want to actually have any control over payment infrastructure? You know, for example, at the moment in Nigeria, one entity actually is in charge of the clearing and settlement system, NIBS, right? Now, NIBS is, it's not a government entity, although CBN is a shareholder. But as more and more fintech companies are developing their own infrastructure as well, CBN really needs to think about where do we want to be before they become a dinosaur that's just passing regulations every day.
Thank you, and I think that's a good point to end on. I think disruption is coming everywhere, including to the regulator. So if they don't adapt, you will find that the private sector and people will create their own currencies and start and create another economy. So I think that is the compelling case for regulators, that they have to produce a currency that is in line with the modern day. So thank you very much, and we will now open up to the audience for questions.
Thank you for the very interesting session. I really enjoyed it. I have a very short question. I heard a lot of good things about digital payments. And I was just wondering, are there any disadvantages to this?
Are there any disadvantages?
Disadvantages of digital payment systems?
Digital payment systems.
Right.
I can mention one disadvantage of digital payments, the anonymity of the payments. That is, it depends on who you are. It can be a disadvantage or an advantage. But currently, most of you are already accepting digital payments, so I don't think you are scared about anonymity of your transaction. That is one, I think, a disadvantage. In my opinion, I don't think that, I don't see, I don't know, maybe it's, I spent all my life in digitalized payments, so I see all the advantages in doing that. So it's the only one that I have in mind now.
No, I think one disadvantage, which is really not disadvantage, it's more of a risk, of course, is systemic risk, because obviously you're doing this around IT-based systems, right? So you have issues around cybersecurity, system interruptions, and I think the industry is doing a lot to deal with those things, but certainly in a lot of jurisdictions, especially like Nigeria, these are still big concerns, and there are reasons why people would say, I'm not really ready to go down that road. So that's kind of a disadvantage.
So I think for my own part, the disadvantage is that your money gets stolen very quickly. So it's difficult to move 1 million naira in cash, but it's very easy to move 1 million naira in digital currency before you know it. So that's, I guess that's the disadvantage.
Do we have any other questions in the room? Okay. All right, let me move over to this side.
Thank you very much. My name is Chibuzo Ike, Informal Limited.
I'm not sure I was satisfied with the answer you gave to Uzoma's question as to why, the real reason why there's slow or people are reluctant to adopt, digital payment system. How much of it is regulatory? How much of it is cultural? Because so far, I think it's about less than 40% of those who have adopted technology as in telcos, yes, but they haven't adopted digital payments platforms. How much of it is cultural? How much of it is regulatory?
I assume that was aimed at me. I think you're right to highlight those two being regulatory and cultural, actually, because it's a little bit of both. That's the simple answer to your question, right? And cultural, actually, not just Nigerian culture, but just societal culture. For example, people still don't trust what they can't physically hold. It's a big problem, especially when it comes to money, right? Because that's where you store your value, etc. So I think that's a big part of it. Now, the reason that I'd say regulatory alongside that is that there is actually a role for the regulator there in terms of actually educating the populace, because whether we like it or not, this is the way of the future. There are huge advantages over cash, and so the regulator has a role to play in changing the cultural mindset of everybody, because frankly, there is no reason why every single Nigerian should not have access to some form of online payment system. It's easier, it's cheaper, it's faster. I mean, we've talked about all the reasons why we should be doing it. So it's really both of those reasons. It's part cultural and it's part regulatory.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, so my question is to Zelda. She talked about regulators needing to be innovative. So what is AFF doing so that this is not just a conference that would come and all the stakeholders come and listen and go? What are stakeholders doing to ensure, or what is AFF doing to ensure that regulators actually embrace innovation within their systems and ensure that this development and innovation and disruption really occurs for growth? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I understand the question, but I'm not going to speak for AFF. But I will tell you that in the industry in general, there's a lot of engagement going on with CBN, with SEC, with NCC, certainly amongst the banks, the legal advisors, the fintechs, the startups, and I would imagine AFF as well. They are engaging the regulators, and the regulators are willing to listen. It's just that there is, for lack of a better word, an educational hurdle, right? Because you are dealing with a regulator that's been dealing in traditional cash system, traditional banking and financial system for decades. So there's certainly that steep learning curve that we have to get over. I know that most people who are involved in this space try to involve the regulators as much as they can, and they're also trying to keep up. It's just that they need to actually get in front of it, So I would say that there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of trying to educate, and we have to keep doing that as much as we can.
Thank you very much. And also creating awareness. And this platform is one of those that creates that awareness to people. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Zelda and Claudio. And remember, I think the future of Africa is digital. You either adapt or get disrupted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uzoma, for moderating that. And that's pretty much it, but we still have one more thing to deal with. Of course, we've had the demos, the presentations. Now it's time to reveal the winners. So to do that, and to also share a few closing remarks, I'd like to now welcome to the stage Uche Okafo, one of the judges, Regional Manager for West Africa at Bolt. Please put your hands together for him as he steps forward.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I know your energy is a bit low, but I'm going to take it up a little bit high now. So I wanted to just give like a little woo to Access Bank. Nah, did you guys not take lunch? Something higher for Access Bank. Nice, nice, nice. So I'm Uche Okafor, and I'm the regional manager for Bolt in West Africa. I know some of you are already putting 2 and 2 together. Oh, so Uche, there used to be an Uche from Taxify. Are you same person? I thought that was maybe like a bot. But yeah, I'll get to this question in a bit. First off, I would like to appreciate Access Bank for putting together this very, very esteemed platform. I really want to appreciate them for giving young Nigerians the hope to actually do more. I see a lot of young people here, and I know that inside your heads right now are dreams, are imaginations on how you can actually live the Nigerian dream. And I basically thank Access Bank for actually giving you this platform for you to actually showcase your creative side and inspire you the more. And we all know that payments is an integral part of every business. I know how important it is for my own business. So I thank Access Bank for actually putting this up. And I only hope that this platform gets bigger and bigger by the year, because I'm optimistic that it's from engagements such as this platform that we can further disrupt payments for the better. And that being said, let me go back to Bolt, or formerly Taxify. To that question, am I Uche from Bolt, Taxify? Sorry, the two are the same, right? Yeah, so am I? The answer is yes and also no. Because at some point, I was Uche from Taxify. But right now, that entity has basically transitioned to a group of passionate young people who basically put sweat and blood on the line every day to ensure that the way you move basically is disrupted for the better. And I was just here sitting down, and I basically heard like sound notifications, the same sound notifications from my app that basically tells you that your driver is here. And I thought to myself, and I said, wow, if Marcus didn't dream this, if he didn't imagine this, he won't be able to disrupt this. So like you've heard, the future is tech. And if you don't dream it, you won't disrupt. So imagine, there is no harm in imagination. Imagine it, move towards it, and get your dreams to reality. And that being said, I basically want to talk about like our startup story. It's a very, very amazing one. Globally, Bolt was founded in Estonia by a young Estonian, Marcus Villig. He was 19 at that time. How many people know what they were doing at 19? Me, I was still trying to sort out my relationship with Jump. Yeah, I was still trying to actually do that. And this was someone at 19. He had this dream to change the way people moved around in Tallinn, Estonia. And he didn't actually stop at that. He made efforts. He put down his tuition fees at that time. He called his friend Oliver, who designed the first prototype, and he went into town himself to onboard taxis, basically, to bring them on the platform. And 5 years on, Bolt is now in 30 countries, is in plus 100 cities globally, and we're changing the way people move around globally. Now, bringing that back home, bringing the story back home to West Africa. Bolt launched in Lagos, and I was the first person to primarily lead the vision here. I'm a low-key kind of person. You won't see me outside. You won't catch me out there. Like, I'm that back scene kind of person. What I'm doing here right now, I do not know, but I'm doing it. So, Bolt basically launched in Lagos, and there were a couple of things that I paid attention to at that early stage, because I was coming in, and it was hard for me because I was coming from an agricultural engineering background. And someone is asking, how did you end up in agric engineering? Well, I thought you had some really good relationships with Jamb. Well, that was the end result. So yeah, but it didn't stop me. I basically had my dreams. And from there on, I found out that we were being limited in that space because of how traditional we are, and I transitioned to tech. So I spent 4 years working as an information security consultant before I was tapped to actually lead the journey of expansion in West Africa. And it wasn't easy, but I knew that I had to solve some major things first. One was my team. I had this vision I was carrying, which was very, very heavy. Even though Marcus, first of all, dreamt it, it was now my job to actually carry it and expand it here. It was very, very scary. But I knew that I couldn't do it alone. I needed a team of superheroes to actually do this. But for me to actually bring people who are smart, talented, and get them to work together is one of the hardest things in life. For you to make smart people work together. So you basically now have to look at yourself and say, I have to be a good leader, first of all. So I did a lot of reading on like the leadership style to basically adopt in operations. And one thing that never fails is you leading from example. You leading from the front. To every entrepreneur that's basically come up here to present, the mere fact you have an idea and you're executing means that you are a leader. You have become a leader. So you need to actually know how you would lead effectively and efficiently. And for me, one thing that's also worked for me in this journey is that I try to put my ego in my pocket. I do not take it to work. Because that has a destructive effect on teamwork, team building. And it's actually very, very key. It clouds your reasoning. Most of the tech companies around basically rely on data, make data-driven decisions. But because when you have egos, your ego comes first. You basically won't bow to superior knowledge. You won't learn. You won't basically foster teamwork. And so that has worked for me in keeping my ego in check. And then the second one I look is operational efficiency. Like I'm a sucker for efficiency. I basically will stretch a process and see how I can actually do more with less. And that is what every entrepreneur should actually do. You've heard Leo Stan Eke actually this morning. Key for us should be efficiency in your spending, in your processes. You basically won't get 100 million funding, and the next thing is saying, oh, team, we've worked so hard, and you dole out a 50 million in Highlanders 2018. So that is not actually spending efficiently. And so that should be our watchword. Then the third one is strategy. When I came in, and one of the key reasons that Uche from Taxify Entity came on board was because of strategy. There was a gap, basically, with the way brands communicate to end users. And it was that gap that I kind of built. So to round this up, I actually want to speak directly to everybody in entrepreneurs right now, that the journey starts now. The journey starts now. This is the lowest you can be. Your job is to go out there and live the Nigerian dream. A lot of people basically say the Nigerian dream is you just dusting up your passports, hustling, and going out of the country to US or Canada. But I say no. The Nigerian dream is you adapting technology in spite of all the odds and making sure you change the way people do things. For me, it's all about changing the way people move around. Some other person is all about them changing the way people make payments. So you should actually think of something and work towards it and change the way traditionally we used to do stuff. And that way, you'll be on the right path to you becoming African heroes. Thank you. I'll go straight now to calling up the winners. All right, with all the contestants, come to the stage. And I also, at this point, will call up the president of the foundry, Segun Adeniyi.
All right, so Segun Adeniyi, please, can you join Uche on stage? And then all the other contestants who are vying for the big prize today, please step forward.
Please step forward. We are waiting. One second. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's have Trep Labs on stage. Are they still here? Trep Labs, Smart Teller. Kayoshi is on stage, I can see that. Grict. And Sesso.
All right, I think we're all here.
All right. The squad is gathered. So thank you guys for putting an amazing demo pitch. And it was exciting listening to you. It was also motivating for me. I actually had like key learnings from this experience. And like I said, you're on your way to becoming African heroes. Do not think Nigerian, think global. And to basically, I will start off from.
No.
All right, I'll start off from the third position. So second runner-up goes to
Smart Teller.
Whoa. Smart Teller, second runner-up.
Whoa. All right, I think the popular candidates are still. Yeah, that is why like the crowd was not too shocked. All right. Okay, so we go to second position. And yeah, your pitch was exciting, interesting. Financials were just there. The potential was massive. And unfortunately, came a bit short. So second position goes to Kaoshi.
Kaoshi. Congratulations.
So guys, who's gonna be the winner? Can I hear some opinions?
Drum roll.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Hey.
Were they here?
Hey.
Okay, we hear you. First position goes to Creeds.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Ludacris going in on the verse, cause I never been defeated and I won't stop now. Keep your hands up, get them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it, my folks locked down. I never went nowhere, what they saying Luda's back. Blame it on that contour, the hood call it Luda-yak. And I'm on this foolish track, so I spit my foolish flow. My hands go up and down, like strippers' booties go. My verses still be serving, like a million virgins. Last time on a college remix, now I'm on the original version. Can't never count me out, y'all better count me in. Got 20 bank accounts, accountants count me in. Make millions every year, the South's champion. Cause all I do, all I do is win, 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 no matter what.
It's okay.
All righty. $10K goes to Grits. Please, can we put our hands together again for them? So hopefully this inspires other techpreneurs in the room. The next edition of Disrupt will be here before you know it. You get a chance to compete for this as well. All right, thank you so much, Uche. All right, can we kill the music? I think Shegun has a few words before we head out of here.
Thank you very much, Wale. Just in a few words, I'd like to say a big thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for your participation. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you for staying till now. I hope it's been a worthwhile experience for everybody in here. I would ask that you indulge me to specifically thank most of our media and event partners. Thank you to Microsoft, Deloitte, Blue Chip, and Dell Technologies. Thank you, Access Bank. We draw a lot of strength from you. Systemic Logic, our largest advocate and strategic advisors. AFEX, thank you. Internet Solutions, Nigeria. 10 Plus, thank you. Agile Advisors Nigeria, 21st Century, 7-Up Bottling Company, Conga, Airtel, Kia, Unilever, United Capital, eStream, Domino's Pizza, Bolt, Tiger, Cold Stone, Triumph, Pinkberry, Accelerate TV, BAO, Tech Next NG, VWS, Tech Economy NG, eTimes, Tech City, Tech Cabal, Guardian Life, Guardian, Miss Techie, Tech Next, and Tech Economy. You guys have made the whole story around building a collaboration across multiple industries a success today. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful experience for us at AFF. It would also be impolite of me not to acknowledge my colleagues that have supported us to put this together. There are a plethora of my colleagues, my support staff around wearing the Disrupt t-shirts. I'm very proud of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues in the Corporate Comms Division. Thank you to my colleagues in Axis Bank. I appreciate that. My only urge is that going forward from today, we don't wait until the next Disrupt conference and you start to engage with us at AFF as your go-to partner for innovation and technology, innovation and disruption with technology across any industry. Until the next conference, Disrupt 2020, accept our dearest gratitude, continue disruption, continue innovating, continue driving new things in technology, but be safe. Thank you very much. I officially open up our after party, sponsored by Nigerian Breweries. We're going to open up from the back and warm our ways in. Thank you very much.
This hour, thank you so much. We appreciate your presence. I mean, they have to do us like that, Wale. Just announce the party, really.
All right.
Well, thanks for being a part of it. I'm Onyi Sunday, and
I'm Wale Famriwa. I believe it's been worth it, and we look forward to having you at the next conference.
have a safe trip.
Have a great evening and safe trip back home.